Hello Year 6, welcome to week 5. It's Maths Day 3 today, Wednesday the 20th of May. I hope that you're all well. We're going to do some adding fractions today, so have a think about what Miss Goodman's been working with you on. We're going to use that today to do some problem solving and some reasoning. Okay, so a quick warm up first. So we're going to have a bit of a warm-up and I'm going to show you 3 calculations that have a missing part of it. So if you have a look at this, you can see that the missing part in this one is the numerator in the answer. So you might want to just pause it now, find out what the missing number is, and then play the video. If you don't want to do that yet, if you would like a bit of help, I'll talk through a few little hints for you to see if you can find what that missing number is. And you can pause the video at any point and then find out what the missing number is. So we've got 4/7, add 2/3. Now the tip that I will give you for this one is that we know what the denominators want to be. So if you have a look at the answer, you can see there's a 21 in the answer. That 21 is the denominator, so we want the denominators in the questions both to equal 21. Do you remember that you can't add numbers that don't have the same denominator? So you might want to have a think, how can you make 4/7 have a denominator of 21? Yeah, you're going to want to multiply the 7 by 3. So what will you do to the numerator? Yeah, you'll multiply that by 3 as well, won't you? So then look at 2/3. Think about what you will multiply that by to give you the denominator of 21. Once you've done that, you can add your numerators together. Don't forget the denominators don't change. Okay, let's have a look at the next. Okay, so for B, we've got a missing denominator. So in actual fact, if you have a think about what we know about adding fractions, we know that the denominator stays the same, doesn't it? Once we have a denominator which has got the same number for both of the fractions that we're adding, it's only the numerators that they add. So they've actually done the adding, haven't they? So what's going to change for our denominator? Can we add 3/5 and 4/3? We can't, can we? We want that denominator to be the same. So you need to figure out, what did they multiply 5 by in the first fraction? What did they multiply 3 by in the second fraction? You might want to check. So say, for example, you might be thinking, as I am, that they probably have a denominator of 15. So the 5 in the first fraction, they will multiply by 3. So what will they multiply the numerator by? It has to be the same thing, doesn't it? So you might want to check. Then you'll go on to 4/3. If we think the denominator should be 15, what will they multiply 3 by to give us 15? Yeah, they'll multiply it by 5. So do the same to the numerator. Then add up your 2 numerators. If they add up to 29, you've done it correctly. Okay, let's go on to same thing. We're looking for a common denominator, aren't we? Okay. So, moving on. Problem solving now. Now you're going to have, we've finished our warm-up now, so the next questions that we're going to do, you're going to have questions very similar to those for your work today. So we're going to go through and think about how we can work these out. So just have a moment to read the problem. Okay, so now I'm going to read it to you. Ethan is thinking of a fraction. He adds 4/5 to his fraction and gets an answer of 1 7/15. What fraction did Ethan start with? My support for you today would be this. I would write out the calculation. So I've written it out here. Just pause it for a moment and to have a look. So you can see there where I got my 4/5 from. 4/5 add a fraction gives me 1 whole and 7/15. So that's a good place for us to start with the calculation written out. Now, 4/5. The first thing I notice about that is that I don't have 5th as my denominator in the answer. So just pause the video and have a little think about that for the moment. Okay, so what we're going to have to do to 4/5. Yeah, we're going to have to make it 15ths. So 4/5. The denominator was 5. I know to get that 5 to 15, I need to multiply it by 3. So I did that to my numerator too. 4 times 3 gives me 12. Okay. So the next thing to look at is this mixed number here in the answer. I would prefer to have that as an improper fraction, as it will help me see what has been added to my 12/15. So let's look at that now. 1 whole. I know the 1 whole is the same as 15/15. Now my fraction part, 7/15. So how much have I got all together there? I just have to add them together. 15/15 from my whole and 7/15 from my fractions. So that gives me 22/15 all together. So if I know then that 12/15 add something gives me 22/15, I can figure out pretty easily what that fraction is going to be. I already know what the denominator is. So what is the numerator? Did you get 10/15? Great, you'll have another problem like that to work on at the end. Okay, so have a little look at what Sally says. So Sally says that she thinks 7/6 and 3/7 is the same as 10/13. We need to say if Sally's correct, and we're going to convince somebody if Sally's correct. Now, there's a pretty helpful bit there. Sally is incorrect. I already know that Sally's incorrect. Remember, this is a reasoning one, so we're looking at how well we're going to explain. I would pause the video, have a look at what you notice about the calculations, look really carefully at the two fractions that we're adding. You won't have to do any calculating, just have a good look at those fractions. Okay, did you spot this one? 7/6. What do you notice about 7/6? 7/6 is larger than a whole, isn't it? It's 1 1/6. So I've written Sally's incorrect because one of the fractions we are adding is larger than a whole, so the answer would be bigger than 1. So I didn't actually have to do any calculating for that one, did I? So have a really good look at your numbers when you're adding those. Okay, on to our problem solving. So you're going to have a problem very similar to mine where you have to select fractions to make the calculation correct. So pause for a minute and what do you notice about the fractions that we've been given? Okay, I noticed that 2 of them have the same denominator. They have the denominator of 10. Now I know that when I'm adding fractions, I need to have the denominators the same. So then I'm guessing that one of these is going to be the answer. It's just a question of which one. The reason I think this is 2 and 5 are my denominators in the other fractions, and I know that 2 and 5 are both factors of 10. So I can easily make those denominators 10. So the question for me is which of the fractions that have a denominator of 10, which one of those is my answer? So I'm just going to work it out. I'm going to put 3/2 and 9/5 in my calculation and see which is the answer. So let's start with 3/2. What do I have to do to the denominator to make it? I times it by 5. So numerator. Look at my next fraction. What do I do to give me a denominator of 10? I double it to the numerator. I now simply have to add them up. Did you get that as your answer? Remember, you'll have a similar one, but not exactly the same. Okay. Now, if you go to the Year 6 pages, Term 5, Week 5, Day 3 in the Math section, there's a copy of the work you've been asked to do. But there's going to be 2 very similar sheets. You choose which one you do. You'll either do the core work, or if you fancy something that's slightly more challenging, you'll do the challenge work. Okay? So have a look at the work that you've been asked to do, and we look forward to hearing how you've got on. Okay. We've also got the answers, but as always, don't look at those until you've done the work. Okay, bye.